All right, welcome in and a very happy Friday to you here as we get ready for the final three games of the round of 32 to knockout stage. Most everything has been set. We still have a few things that we've got to figure it out. It's going to start, of course, with Egypt and Australia. That is your first game up here today. And boy, oh boy, if you like scoring, I'm not sure this is the game we're going to get it. Just look at the market right now, hovering around 2 as a total in this one. Plus 250 for Australia, right around plus 150 for Egypt. It's going to be a battle of wills, and we've got you covered for it here in the final games of the knockout stage. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. And Tom, probably not going to be the highest scoring game of the three here today, but going to be interesting to see who gets on the board first.
Yeah, it's going to be who gets on the board first, and then simply just control the game and prevent the other team from scoring. You know, frankly, I think these two teams are in different classes. I really do believe that Egypt are better than Australia. I'm not going to say leaps and bounds better, but I do believe they are a tier above them. And just looking at the qualification that it took to get here, even before the group stage, I mean, the actual regional qualification, and then the group stage itself, you know, Australia has a draw versus Panama. You know, they lose to Team USA, and then they beat Turkey. And I don't want to say that they kind of backed themselves into the second place in that group, but they did. Egypt, we know that they're a well-rounded team. They may not be amazing, but again, I think they come out this with a victory. I have Egypt in a couple different ways. You know, I am playing them on the money line. I believe that they are the better team overall. As I talked about last night with Gabe, I also have this game, the alt under 3.5, in a parlay from yesterday's game, alt under 3.5 to get me at minus 102. So I'm hoping for not a whole lot of goals, and really just Egypt takes care of business.
Yeah, and Mohamed Salah there, of course, at Egypt here. There were some questions about his health, but he certainly was good enough and healthy enough to get it going here today for them. And listen, Australia's hoping to get their first World Cup knockout win in this match. Either way, the winner will move on to take on either the defending champion Argentinian squad or Cabo Verde, which the entire world seems to have fallen in love with, and that's going to be your 6 o'clock Eastern time game, the second one up here. And quickly looking at that one, yeah, we got a big favorite in that one there. The goals might very well happen in there, but I think, let's face it, Argentina's probably going to be scoring a lot of them in that one.
Yeah, and at face value, it's tough to bet this game, or tough to find a way to bet it. You can't even look to, you know, an alt or, you know, a spread at minus 1.5. You know, frankly, I saw it before. Argentina team total over 2.5. I saw it at minus 113. Listen, they got to be able to get to 3 goals in this type of matchup. This heavy of hit. That's what the money line essentially implies. And, you know, 2 qualified to the next round. That they're these massive favorites at the game shouldn't even be close in any capacity. So Argentina team total is something that I'm looking at. I don't want to take them in a 90 minutes. I guess you could look to an Argentina plus over 2.5 game combo, something along those lines. But it's all Argentina. And frankly, Joe, you know, we're looking at Egypt and Australia now. It's like, great, you can win a round and either country will have a victory, you know, for the first time in their history, and it's great for all that, but, you know, you're going to be staring at Argentina in the next round, so it's all for naught, essentially.
Yeah, it's it's going to be interesting. Only 3 spots up for grabs that remain here. Who's going on to the 3 games here today in the final games of the round of 32? And coming up here, on about the 5-minute mark here, we've got no score, but we did get a great save and a great goal opportunity there, but just a bit outside, as they say, for Australia. And listen, we've done all of these round of 32 games here, Tom, and I can't get over the amount of line movement in the markets up to right around the first hydration break there. If you have a favorite that is either trailing or hasn't scored, and you're a little bit worried about, well, I don't want to kind of lay that price, kind of like an Argentina. Well, let Argentina not have a goal, or, you know, let Verde get a early goal. The amount of line swing By the time we can get to that 24, 25-minute mark, if the favorites haven't done what the market thinks, the line swings are absolutely amazing to me.
And the same can be said about the total. They come crashing down quickly when there's a lack of scoring. Excuse me. That we saw it last night with Croatia and Portugal. Everyone was expecting a ton of scoring, and there was. We got 3 goals in that game, and it could have been 5 goals in that game with all the offsides and the goals that were called back. But it started off really, really slow. We went obviously the entirety of the first half with no goals, and that came crashing down where you were able to get plus money at one point at over 1.5. So if you're willing to wait just a little bit, you don't like the line, it kind of feels a little bit off to you. If you just wait a little bit to that first hydration break, get into the 30th minute, play the favor once you get better odds, play a total once you get better odds, whatever it might be, because things happen quickly when it comes to soccer in terms of the swing of the movement. It's not the same in other sports. Like, if the underdog, in football gets out and scores, they'll still be getting 5 points even if they score a touchdown. It's not the same when it comes to other sports.
It is not, too. It's and I got to give credit to Australia here. They have had a couple of decent opportunities. They seem to be just a half a step ahead of Egypt right now. We got our first corner kick as well for Australia. Have you dabbled in the corner kick market? Because I covered the Spain game yesterday, and I got to tell you, if it wasn't for Spain, you weren't getting a corner kick in that matchup against Austria at all. I've never seen, you want to talk about one-sided domination, my goodness here, but something tells me it'll be a little more even in this match here today.
Yeah, I had the over 8.5 corners last night for Portugal, Croatia. I got it over 8.5. It was minus 155 by kickoff and moved to 9.5 at plus 100. And we went over pretty cleanly, pretty easily. We had 5 or 6 at halftime, so we were well on pace. I'm seeing the line right now at 8.5, 118 to the over, 112 to the under. And this is the type of matchup that I would assume each team can do their part. Last night or yesterday with Spain, it's like, listen, they got to do 75, 80% of the work. If Austria could get 1 in or 2 in, that'd be great, but I really don't expect it. This is probably more of an even split game. If we can get to, I would say 5 by halftime, 4 or 5 by halftime, I think you'd be good for over 8.5. And again, both teams doing their part, maybe 60-40 when it comes to Egypt.
Yeah, and again, you've got Egypt seems to be very content with, and they're very methodical in how they do it. They look for opportunities to counter strike here, and they have held on to the ball, at least possession. We're about 70-30 right now, but of that 30% possession, Australia's had the 2 best opportunities right now out in front of the goal. One of them hit the crossbar, the one shot that we have had in the game, but again, no score coming up on the 9-minute mark here. And boy, that total it was 2 to begin with, which was the lowest total I think we've seen in the knockout stage. Usually everything seems to be 2.5, maybe 3. But this one closed at 2, and we're seeing 1.5s with a little bit of juice, obviously, to the over. But we're not even 10 minutes into this, and the market is already telling you, I don't know how much scoring we're going to get here. But stranger things have happened so far in this knockout stage, so you never know what you're going to get. It only takes 1 to get the ball rolling, so to speak, and right now, still 0-0 coming up here on the 9-minute mark. We got much more to get to, including Ghana and Colombia will be your late-night game. Tom will be back for that one. We'll give you the latest odds there. A lot of folks liked Colombia pre-flop here, maybe not only to get out of the knockout stage, but get to the round of 16. We'll cover it all for you, though, as the final day of the knockout round continues here. And we've got you covered on In-Game Live Game Day on the Grid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on this Friday, July 3rd, the final day of the round of 32. The knockout stage is coming to a close. We got 3 matches, though, one underway, Egypt and Australia. 0-0 currently about the 13-minute mark, although it looks like Egypt's going to have a free kick here and a little razzle-dazzle that went nowhere. But we'll see whether or not Tom, I hate to say it. Oh, never mind. One goal. I was going to say, that was a heck of a header, by the way. Great off the ricochet. Very nice by Egypt. And just like that, this game is now over. I think we can call it a night because we did say first goal wins. Egypt gets that first goal. And just like that, Australia. It was an interesting play with the whole free kick, but it's, the ricochets bouncing off a bunch of guys, right place at the right time there.
It really wasn't. Right as we were coming back from commercial, I was saying, looking at some of the live lines and saying, Egypt to win either half. And, we were joking, saying, they got to score at least one. Or for that time. They're sitting at minus 105. And, that's just, looking at the lines, I didn't actually get that in. But it's now really a question of, Joe, Egypt's going to control the game, as you said, very methodical. Are they going to get a chance to get a second because Australia has to overextend and go for counterattacks, therefore leaving extra space, and then Egypt can counterattack that counterattack, and then that's the only way we get a second goal, right? I really don't see Egypt running out and scoring 3-4 goals, nor do I see Australia putting one in of their own. So the lines have changed, as you would assume. Egypt on the 3-way money line is now sitting at minus 230. The total is still sitting at 2.5. It is used a little bit to the over, minus 132. But I think we're going to be in for, status quo for here on out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, it's Egypt play keep away, take advantage of a couple of opportunities that may come up. You'll know you and I both know what's going to happen in the second half. If it's still 1-0, Australia's going to have to start taking some chances, and that's where, counter-strike teams like Egypt, who wait for you to make that kind of mistake, we'll see if they're able to get and take advantage of it. But right now, it's Egypt 2 shots on goal, 1 on target, and 1 goal. That's pretty good, but still a 70-30 percentage on possession here. It's but at least when Australia's had it in Egypt, they certainly are attacking. It's not like they're just passing the ball around and not actually getting anything any shots going. So we'll see how much longer that can last, though. This kind of possession favors Egypt in a big, big way.
It certainly does. Like, Australia is getting outpossessed massively, but at least they're making the most of it. To your point, like, at least they had some shots. They had one off the crossbar, which is a bet that Gabe has talked about a lot, to hit the woodwork. Will any shot by either team hit the woodwork? And which is something I haven't seen on FanDuel or DraftKings. We know Gabe's out in Vancouver, so whatever he has access to. But to hit the woodwork is a relatively interesting bet. He was also talking about Bet365 had a bet where you can bet on possession. What will the possession end with? So obviously the favorite team is, normally in the upper 50s, but sometimes obviously that changes where, he talked about it with Team USA game that we were doing. And then as soon as Team USA goes down to 10 men due to the red card for Balogun, they don't have possession anymore, but they still won the game. So he loses his possession bet, but obviously still has, different things. So, as we've talked about, the menu of options is vastly different for a World Cup game than you get for a normal EPL or La Liga game, where we're not getting all of these corners, all of these shots. Like, you on DK at least, you can bet on team fouls, team offsides, which you don't get for a normal, week in and week out. So, keep that in mind, find the marker that you like, and we're really coming down to the games that matter most. So I think we're going to find, like, really tight bands of outcomes for teams.
Yeah, it's the menu is ridiculous, which is why the handle ultimately during the World Cup, and especially now that they've added teams and changed the format a little bit, the amount of handle that if you think March Madness is crazy, this kind of dwarfs March Madness. I mean, there is no more money being wagered on any event around the world except for maybe cricket championships, from what I understand, is very popular. But this is it. I mean, this is everybody, whether you watched soccer 1 minute throughout the year or over the last 3.5 years, you are likely wagering something on these games here. And yeah, it is king, certainly around the world. And I got to tell you, if Team USA, great job by them. And by the way, the appeal for the red card had come back. I guess FIFA ruled on that. That's a no-go. So that's a shocker. But that's a whole different conversation. But I got to tell you, Team USA makes it to the round of 16, and can get out of the round of 16 now. There is no, we're going to watch all of a sudden, I think, over the next year or so, the popularity likely increase with soccer. It's not going to be in the background like, our teams stink, I got to tell you, man, if they can get, if they handle Belgium, which they should, I think soccer is going to be looked at in a little bit different light here around the country over the next couple of years.
It really should. And frankly, at this point, listen, playing Spain or Portugal, either one's going to be a very difficult matchup. I think we'd all be rooting for Portugal to win just because, listen, both teams are better than Team USA. I think everyone would agree with that. Portugal is not as good as Spain. Spain's a Goliath. They're one of the favorites to win it. But taking on Portugal, I think there would be a path forward for Team USA winning that. And 1-0. I don't know if there's really a path forward for them potentially beating Spain if they were to match up with them. So that's what I'd be looking at. Joe, as we're coming down to it with different futures, with different things that everyone have in play. This is the chance to I would say have exposure to, one or two teams that you like. Obviously, you want them on different sides of the bracket if you can get them on different points so you can get a good hedge opportunity. We know the potential for a France-Argentina rematch. So everyone should keep that in mind as we're coming down to the end.
Yeah, there are some very interesting predictive markets, too, that we've come across where now is the opportunity, some great hedging opportunities available. We'll talk about some of them. Still 1-0, Egypt and Australia. We'll keep you posted here as in-game live game day continues on the grid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
like,
on
stop
the
jumping.
Turf. He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid network. Almost had another goal while we were away, but Egypt called for an offsides. They missed the shot anyway. But we did add a corner kick here, which is nice as we rack those up. 3 shots on goal each with Egypt and Australia. However, Australia is going on nearly 220 minutes now in World Cup play where they have not scored a goal, which is extremely disheartening if you're hoping that you're going to get something here. 1 corner apiece, so not a lot there, but certainly Egypt, when having the opportunities, but you know, they look, I hate to say it here, Tom, but they almost look like it's not a matter of if, but when are they going to have another opportunity? And, you know, could this be a 2-0 before it's all said and done?
That's what I'm certainly looking at. We did just reach the first hydration break, so stopping for that now gives us a good time to reset and look at things. The corners market has dropped to 7.5, minus 152 to the over. Again, we're looking at just 2 total corners. 2 corners for both for Australia. When it comes to shots, it's 4-3 for Australia. Australia have none on goal. Egypt has the 1 on goal. But, Joe, we were talking about the futures market in terms of not just the outright winner, but also to reach the semifinals. And, again, this is not to win a semifinal. This is just to reach it. France and Argentina are the favorites. But after that, you know, you're getting some pretty decent prices on everyone else, you know, besides them. Spain, Brazil, England, and Portugal are the next set of teams. And, obviously, all of these teams can't reach the semifinals because we're only looking at 4 of those teams total. The path forward for a team like Mexico and or England, obviously only one of them are going to come out because they have to play each other on, Sunday night? Tomorrow, Sunday night. So only one of them is going to come out. But, Joe, one of those teams could beat Brazil, which means one of the favorites to make the round of 16 or make the semifinals out of the round of 16 is not going to be there.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a matter of, you know, at this point, it's all about the path, right? Which one of these teams, and if it's not going to be the top 4 chalk teams, right? Who's got the best opportunity of pulling the upset? Because there is some value there to make the semifinal. I mean, listen, do we think Team USA is going to come from that side of the bracket? I mean, it's, you know, Belgium is one thing, but having to go through either Portugal or Spain and then go down the list from here, Tom, it gets a little more difficult, but it would be the story of all stories, that's for sure, if they were somehow able to get down that path. But It feels to me like Spain is still a little undervalued because I think people, given the history and how talented this team always is, every World Cup, they've had more failures and did not get there. It feels like a lot of folks in the market aren't buying into Spain. Yeah, they just don't feel like it feels to me. I've seen two teams that just look a cut above everyone else right now, and you saw it in the knockout, France with what they did to Sweden, and what we just watched, was Spain do. I mean, those matches weren't even remotely close. Almost all the other ones had a little bit of intrigue and possible upsets. It was never in doubt with France or Spain, but France is in a different price category than Spain is.
And that's really what it comes down to. We can have, biases for, against teams, whatever it might be, but we just got to, whatever the odds are telling us, that's just what it comes down to. If we love the team and everyone agreed that Spain was great, but we weren't getting a great price in them, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And if they were, I said they were minus 105 to reach the semis. If they were minus, 190, we wouldn't be talking about this because it would just be, okay, it's like, that's what the market agrees that's where they are. But when we are getting a good price plus the path actually making sense to them reaching the semis, that's a good price. That's something that we want to always look to attack. And it's the same thing about any other sport. It's not just about, do we like the bet? It's like, are we getting fair odds for it? Does the price actually that we're going to pay and get, does that actually make sense?
Absolutely. And listen, we have all three host nations still in it at this point, right? Heading into the round of 16. And so that's going to beg the question, too. And this was another one of the markets in the predictive side. Which of the host nations makes it the furthest? Is it Team USA? Is it Mexico? Is it Canada? We'll get a chance to see Canada, obviously, quickly here, and that's a tough one against Morocco. But, we'll look at some of these numbers, and, again, path matters, but, can Team USA as a big favorite, are they going to be the last host nation standing? We'll talk about it as in-game live game day continues here on the grid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the three countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done. He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. And look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we've got the first of three matches that are going to end the round of 32 happening right now at AT&T Stadium in Arlington as Egypt on a nice header off a free kick got the scoring going. Australia's had a couple of opportunities. They have not been able to cash in just yet, but it's really possession, everything been dominated by Egypt thus far. We're at the 30-minute mark out of the hydration break. And Tom, we've seen this enough in the knockout stages where I don't know what happens, but boy, the hydration break stops and teams, it seems like all of a sudden, especially teams trailing, I don't know what they're working on at that hydration break. I don't know why they didn't do it to start the game, but it feels like you get a different effort and crazy things begin to happen. So is Australia, is this what they needed to light a fire a little bit and maybe get this thing knotted up in one apiece?
You know, this is something that Gabe was mentioning, you know, over the past few days when I've been doing shows with him. He made the reference to college basketball. You know, like with an underdog going into a hostile environment where like you're just trying to survive to the commercial break, to survive to a certain timeout, where you're trying to break the game down into smaller bits where, you know, Australia, you know, they would like to get to the hydration break down 1-0, but now they got to reset and refocus. Now coming out with a little more energy, a little more, you know, assertiveness on offense, they got to try and survive from here to halftime without giving up another goal and getting some positive offensive chances. And then coming out of halftime, getting those positive chances to continue to the next hydration break. So that's what we're going to see. I think that's a good way to approach, you know, are you looking to bet a certain team at a certain time, as we talked about? Because if you can get a favorite to the hydration break or halftime still scoreless, that's when you want to jump in on them. So credit to Australia. They're still down 66-34 in possession, but at least they're getting some positive momentum when it comes to the chances that they're getting close to the box.
Yeah, I agree. I think we got the goal. We got back up to 2.5. And don't forget, this total closed at 2 in a lot of spots. You can still get 2.5, 2.25 right now. I still think the under is in play in this spot here. So I'm okay with taking a shot at the under here. We do have it looks like some sort of free kick here for Australia, whether or not they're able to make anything count, although they did have a good opportunity there. And we got a save. All right, look at that. We got an actual save going on there by the goalie. And, yep, still about 34 minutes in, 1-0. But now that's the shots are a little bit even at this point. It's just that Egypt had the better opportunities, and they took advantage of it. But that in-game corners prop might be worth readjusting as well here, Tom. It's 2, I think, is what we've gotten thus far, and they were both by Australia. Not seeing a whole lot from the corner. The good thing about corners, though, is that in 4 minutes you can rack up 9 of them. Because if you get one, you usually get another. But so far, not seeing a whole lot in the corners market either.
No, we're at 2 just for Australia. 2-0 when it comes to corners. The corners market now that I'm seeing is down to 7.5, minus 146 on the under, plus 110 on the over. For shots, it's, you know, this should be updated. That should count as a save for Egypt. So I'm seeing 3-0 for Australia. It might change to 4-1 once it gets, you know, officially logged in there. But 3 shots for Egypt, just the 1 on target. No cards. I know a lot of people have been betting total cards. Again, Gabe has been big on that, betting unders on total cards. Teams just want to play things a certain way. I will say the DK is offering a fouls market where you can bet on total fouls for the opposing or, you know, either team. You know, I was thinking about that last night with Croatia. You know, I considered 12 plus at minus 120. I didn't actually get there, but I was thinking, okay, how does Croatia or how does X team want to play a certain way? They want to, you know, muck it up. They want to, you know, get the more skilled team off their bearings and just try and frustrate them a little bit. As we see in every sport, you know, teams have their path to victory, and getting things mixed up physically is what they want to do. I think that's going to become more interesting as we get to closer and closer games as we move further into the bracket.
So I would have to imagine both teams to score prop is probably at a decent price because Yeah, I'm sure there are people wondering here, if you were fading Australia to begin with, do you think they're going to be able to get a goal? At this point, with a total at 2, right, and barely, or 2.25, even 2.5, with a big juice to the under, call me crazy. I mean, that might not be a bad look right now. They've had another shot on goal here, by the way, on target. So it's not like they're not creating some offense. 7 attempts on goal right now, 1 on target to 3 attempts on goal and 1 on target. But that 1 on target happened to be a goal for Egypt. So the price might be right here, Don, for both teams to score.
I'm seeing the no at +110 and yes at -140. Now, I just happen to be looking at FanDuel for this moment. I have to check DK to see what we're getting, but obviously shop for the best lines. -140 for the yes for both teams to score. I think
they don't look like a team who can't score. Like, we've seen teams that were going, no way are they getting it's just not gonna. Australia doesn't appear to be that team here. I think they've had a couple of shots. I think we could see some a goal here by them, at which point you either look at the over market or maybe the draw market. What do you think about the draw right now?
I don't hate it. And I will say you're getting much better price, at least on DK -125 compared to -140. The draw market is +270. And what, Gabe and I were looking at yesterday, we're kind of dipping into the correct score market. Now, obviously, you could bet the tie and, it could end up 2-2, 3-3, could be anything. But, the exact outcome for 1-1, which is really where we think this should be, that's +350 compared to just a tie at +270. Now, again, you could win one and still lose the other. So obviously you have to figure out what's best. And that's what is great about soccer and the menu of options that we at least have for the World Cup, is there's multiple ways to skin a cat. But both teams to score at -125 or the tie at +270, you decrease the unit size on the +270 because the implied probability is far lower compared to a -140 or -130 bet. That's worth a sprinkle if you are thinking Australia looked halfway decent so far.
I mean, they have certainly had some opportunities. They seem to be a much bigger and more physical squad too here than Egypt, right? I mean, it seems that we got some guys here, and listen, the best player for Egypt, Salah, right? He's not exactly 100%. So it's, they got a great goal opportunity early, but as this match continues to go, I really do like it. And I think correlating some of these bets, Tom, is the way to do it, right? If I think if Australia scores, I love the opportunity for the draw. And quite honestly, at +$8 or $9 right now, why not? Why not take a shot here with Australia? Because again, I don't know that Egypt, coming out of the hydration break, and we said it, right? Is it me, or is Australia just dominated coming out of the break, the possession and opportunities?
They really have, and that was another corner for Australia. They're up to 3.
Yep.
And just, a simple stat when it comes to not looking at anything actual, but right here, touches in opposition box for Australia, they have 8. Egypt only has 5. So they may not be getting every shot on goal. It may not be, everything or shots at all, but at least they're creating those chances. They're at least working in the opposing end. And again, some of these like underlying metrics or underlying stats don't always come to fruition. But if you're betting on something, we're betting on a team that's at least trying. It's as simple as that sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Also, by the way, Australia, not a very good first half team. Much better second half from an offensive perspective and expected goal perspective. So, I can tell you right out of the gate, this is a much different team out of the hydration break than we saw early on. We'll keep you posted here as in-game live game day continues on the grid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latin Nation Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
Stop
on the
jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. And look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Here we go, in-game live game day on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we are keeping our eye on Egypt and Australia. 1-0 Egypt right now, coming up on the 43-minute mark. And if I see one more Egypt player just fall to the ground every time somebody runs into him or makes contact, I'm going to scream. I thought they did a great job of trying to avoid this in FIFA. Wasn't that the whole point? Every guy, it's been 5 guys I've counted now in the first half, in the first 43 minutes, that somehow get touched and they just fall down screaming in pain. And then all of a sudden they're back up and they're running in full speed. Like, isn't that the pure definition of flopping here, Tom?
Yeah, it seems that way. I feel like we either get games that have none of it or very little, or we get games that have a lot. There's like no in between. Some of the teams I think have their own ways of going about things. They're trying to draw fouls, they're trying to draw free kicks. Obviously, it's a part of the game. But I also love the fact that there are some refs out there that just have no business of this. They're just like, all right, get up, go on, just get moving. I'm not giving you a card. You'll get a foul some of the times. I'm not rewarding a foul every single time or a free kick every time.
Amazing.
There's another player on the ground for Egypt. But, we're approaching halftime. We're approaching halftime, Joe. And I will say Egypt did just have a good chance right as we were coming back. But right now, I think there are people sweating out the under 1.5 if you've played that in the first half, and or you are sweating out potentially a halftime full-time result, which would be Egypt, which I know some people probably have out there. Egypt right now is -240. It was probably much better pre-start, but that's what everyone's probably worried about to this point.
Yeah, we're probably going to get a few extra minutes here too, given how many guys have been laying on the ground here throughout it. But we're at the 44-minute mark here, 1-0. And yes, I'm with you here. I think, again, goes to break 1-0. What are we going to get in the second half? Well, you're probably going to get a much more desperate Australia team. And they were knocked out, I think, back in 2021 against a lot of guys that are on this team. This Australian team lost 2-0 to Egypt and kind of ended them there too as well. So there's some history between these two teams, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of changes each makes, because that's also a big part of it, right? I mean, coaching apparently does matter in these spots, and I only say that because usually if a nation doesn't win, they fire the coach. So the coach must play a huge role here, Tom, in these soccer matches. No?
It plays something. We saw wholesale changes from Portugal last night when they subbed in 4 at once. So, if that's a path to winning, so be it. But, Australia, I will say we're getting 5 minutes of stoppage time. So that's what we're getting in this one. So it just hit 45. We'll get the 5 minutes of stoppage time. Presumably we'll be going to half with 1-0 Egypt, and Joe coming out of it, will reset things of where we're looking in the second half and then what we're looking at for the next 2 games. But I really see this as both teams to score. I'm kind of still leaning towards the yes. Australia is at least taking the chances. That number's down to minus 110 yes, minus 115 no. And the over-under is still sitting at 2.5, but it has shifted dramatically to under 2.5 and minus 220.
Yep. I'm jumping in here because, again, I've seen enough of these matches, is certainly in the knockout stage, where you can, at this point in the match, you're going, this team is never scoring. I mean, we're just, they're overmatched, or they're much more, they're happier just playing defense. They don't want anything to do, with trying to get caught out of, no risk taking whatsoever. That's not Australia. That's not what I've seen here from them. And quite honestly, we've already seen, I think, 1 clean sheet out of their last 10 international matches here for Egypt. They go through lackadaisical moments here defensively. This is not a tremendous shutdown defensive squad here, which means, we could be getting a goal from Australia. Nice shot there, by the way, just wide. But that's my point. That's what we're seeing from them. I think they've got a goal, and that draw also, Tom, might be very well worth a look, because if they do get that goal, we could have 1-1 heading into to extra time and maybe penalty kicks.
Yeah, I'm getting in on both teams to score, minus 105 right now. I like that.
There you go.
Listen, it's 1-0. The possession is 60-40 in Egypt, but Egypt has only 3 shots. Australia has 5. Inside the box, the attempts are still 3-3. So it doesn't look like a 60-40, a team's been up by 1. You think they'd be dominating. Australia's got 3 corners. Egypt has none. Now, some of the underlying metrics are absolutely in favor of Egypt, but at least Australia's they're taking these chances forward. They are getting close. They got another one in the box here. So both teams to score. All it takes is 1 extra chance and another Egypt player on the ground, and boom, you're going to have an Australia goal.
Yep. I'm with you. I've seen enough from Australia to say, you know what? Opportunities will continue like this through the game, which is really all you want.
Right. And I'll say this. If they don't score, I wouldn't put this as it was a bad beat. It was a bad. It's like they had their chances. They tried. They just couldn't get a goal. And I'm fine with the loss like that. At least I'm betting on a team that's at least trying to operate rationally.
I agree. And again, I do think that I do think they've got an opportunity here to get one against Egypt. And you got to like it. I mean, they have been a different team outside of that, the hydration break here, and they've kind of dominated the rest of the way. I can make the argument they've dominated more of this first half here after that 24-minute mark. So don't hate it. I do think Australia is going to get on the board. I think we got it at a really good price and a really good opportunity. And then, of course, the next thing is going to be that draw, because I do think regulation could end 1-1 here. I am not sold that Egypt's going to have another goal. Not sold on it here at this point. So we'll see what happens, but we're coming up on the extra time coming to an end. When we come back, of course, we'll take a look at Cabo Verde versus Argentina, Ghana versus Colombia. And we'll give you all the updated odds as well as in-game live game day continues here on the grid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latin Nation Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
Like,
on
stop
the
jumping.
Turf. He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Raineri and Tom Vecchio here with you. We are at the break here. 1-0 is our score here. Egypt on top of Australia. And, yeah, a lot of back and forth here, but Australia showed us something there in the second half of that hydration break. They will have some opportunities, I think, in the second half to get a goal. I still think, Tom, that the draw is very much in play in this game. Based on what you've seen, how would you look at the second half here?
Yeah, second half definitely lower scoring. Australia has looked pretty darn good, you know, all things considered, being down 1-0. Again, they're not holding a favor when it comes to possession, although it's gotten significantly closer. It's 56-44 at this point. They're getting shots on goal. They're getting shots overall. They're getting corners. They're getting attempts inside the box. You know, it looks, as you were saying, Joe, Egypt looks a little bit gassed right now. Like, they don't seem to be at full strength in terms of their cardio. And both teams to score, like I said, that's at -105, certainly in there. The draw is certainly very enticing at +270. If you wanted to, you know, thread the needle a little bit, it is at +320 for a 1-1 draw, to be specific.
Interesting. Okay, so exact scores also available. How about the next game coming up, 6 o'clock, Cape Verde versus Argentina? It's the biggest favorite of the night, Argentina. Total 2.5 to the over. What are you thinking?
You know, can we take Argentina on the spread at -1.5? I'm seeing that at -225. I think that's a bit of a price to pay. But team total goals for Australia over 2.5 is -117. Listen, they're this heavy of a favorite. This is what is essentially implied, that this game is not going to be close. It's going to be Argentina early and often. It's going to be Argentina every which way you can possibly get them. So I'd rather play their team total over 2.5 at -117 compared to laying a goal and a half at -225.
Yeah, hard for me to see Cape Verde scoring at all in this one here. I do think that, you know, Argentina wins to 0 might come into play here, because I just don't. I think they're going to have to play from behind. I don't think they're going to be used to that. I think this is going to be a very one-sided affair, but I think it's a clean sheet for Argentina here tonight. And then, of course, speaking of clean sheet, one of the best defensive teams, Colombia, taking on Ghana at 9:30. You'll be back for that one, Tom. What are you thinking? Does Colombia keep Ghana off the board?
I don't know if they keep them off the board, but I will say I love the fact that Colombia, they will shoot at any chance they can possibly get. They will rack up the shots left and right. So, Gabe and I will be back later. We'll be talking about this. I'm going to have some action on Colombia shots or shots on target, maybe looking to Jaime Rodriguez for shots specifically, or looking at the corner market in that game. But I believe Colombia advances. It's just a matter of how I want to play it, because you can't take my minus 600 to advance at this point. Even the money line's a little bit much. But again, an in-game number for Colombia, I think, will be the best route to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, they are good, Colombia, defensively, too. I think they allowed just 5 shots on target across the 3 group matches. Ghana, by the way, the 4th least amount of shots in the group stage of any nation. So it feels like I'll take Colombia first half. I'll take Colombia clean sheet, because I think they'll come out. And by the way, crazy stat here. I think they have only trailed at the half in one of their last 22 international contests, that being Colombia. So they love the first. They tend to shut it down in the second half with a lead. And I just don't know that Ghana's going to have the amount of firepower and the offense to be able to compete. Colombia's been good. I think it's going to be good here. So that we got 3 matches here today. These are the final 3 of the knockout stage. Team USA will be back with a big one tomorrow. We've got, of course, Canada going to take the center stage here with their opportunity. Which one of those North American nations, Tom, do you think makes it the furthest here?
I think they all could lose at the same spot, right? It's very possible.
No, it's crazy, right?
Because if Mexico beats England, then in the next round, presumably, if Brazil beats Norway, they would lose to Brazil. Then Canada getting past Morocco is certainly a big step. But then next, they would lose to France. And same thing for USA beating Belgium. They could lose to Spain.
A lot more coming your way. We'll see you for the next game as in-game live game day continues here on the grid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the ref's coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the Ghana goalie's done. He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Welcome to a special edition of Latin Nation Football Club. Y le vamos a llamar Copa Nation because we're all about the World Cup.